It's Paperwhite season. So we're planting Paperwhites in our house that we're going to force. They're bulbs. They were a huge tradition in Victorian times to have Paperwhite Narcissus around. And in Victorian decorations, if you're going to be authentic, you're going to include Paperwhites. And so it's a Paperwhite Narcissus. It's a bulb. I got a dozen bulbs from my friends at Campbell's. So they're right here. And they look like this. They have a little bit of, if there's the little film on the outside, that little skin on the outside, I remove it, kind of like an onion. And yeah, this is what they look like. And so they've been in the bag. So see, look at that in the bag. They was laying there like this because they want to be straight and upright. So it's time for us to get them planted. And what we're going to do is we're going to plant them in gravel in containers. And then we're going to add water to them. And these bulbs are ready for forcing, which means they're going to grow up and they're going to have a blossom on them. They're a narcissus blossom. So they are white like a daffodil, right? Except that they have a fragrance. And so there are people, I think there's two types of people. There's the love Paperwhite Narcissus and there's the hate Paperwhite Narcissus people. So some people do not like the fragrance of it. I like the fragrance. I think it smells similar to lilies. And so probably if you don't like lilies, you probably won't like Paperwhites. I don't know. But I love the fragrance of them. And I just think that they really smell Christmassy to me because that's the time of year that they bloom. My friend Madonna, she hates flowers that smell. And so loves flowers, doesn't like the ones that have a fragrance to them. So doesn't like hyacinths, doesn't like lilies, would not like Paperwhites. The other day, she bought a Paperwhite though. And she said, look, and I bought this Paperwhite and I'm so excited and it's going to bloom. And I was like, yeah, and you're not going to like it because it's going to be fragrant. Okay. So that's one of the things about them, but I've got some tricks to share with you today. We're going to put some in a lily bowl like this with some blue gravel. That's going to look really pretty. And then I decided to grab this mid-century modern vase. This was a gift from a friend of mine. Trina gave this to me. And it's just really pretty. And it'll be pretty with Paperwhites in it too, because they'll grow up out of here. Now, the one thing about Paperwhites is they grow tall sometimes. So that's what one of the tricks is about, is making sure your Paperwhites don't get too tall. All right. But first things first, let's get our bulbs out of the bag here. And we've got them. And I've got all this mess. So we want to make sure that we get that little bit of skin off there, if there is skin on there, because what that skin is going to do is that skin is probably going to rot a little bit in the water. Because what we're going to do is we're going to have a vase of water that we're going to continue to add to as the water is depleted. And when we add to that vase of water over a period of time, it's water sitting in room temperature for a couple weeks. And it's also got botanical material in it. So if we're not careful and we don't do some cool things to it, that water could smell bad. Okay, and so we want to make sure that we don't have a lot of bacteria growth in it. So that's really important. And so this is part of one of the ways that we will deal with that bacteria growth, is taking that little bit of skin off, just like an onion, right? Because that's what it's like. Now, look at all that skin I had, right? That's a lot of skin. So we'll get rid of that. We're going to put it over here. And I have got a dozen bulbs to put between a couple of containers here. So I think this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 will probably go in there. Okay. And then we'll put the other 6 over here. And you can use any container that you want as long as it holds water. You don't want it to drain out the bottom, because one of the things about forcing these is that they want to sit in there. They're going to send roots out the bottom. And as they send those roots out the bottom, this is going to straighten up, and there's going to be a blossom inside there, and it's going to bloom. Really fun. This is a great project to do with kids too. I think it's really a fun thing for them to do too, because it teaches them about forcing bulbs. One of the things in Amsterdam, kids have to learn how to force bulbs, because their number one industry in Amsterdam in the Netherlands is flowers. Okay. And so in the Netherlands, flowers are the most important thing. So you got to know how to force bulbs. You got to know how to take care of flowers in a vase. It's very important to their culture. I think it's cool that our kids should know about it too. So that's very fun. So I'm going to use this gravel, and I've got just a mixture of gravel. This is some gravel that I've recycled, and I thought it would be fun to use because it's blue and it's blue and aqua. It's going to look pretty in my living room. My living room is painted aqua, and so this is going to be real pretty in there. I'm going to add a little bit more. There we go. And I'm just going to scoot it out to the sides a little bit. Sorry, that was noisy. I know, it was noisy. Okay, but now look how pretty that's going to look, right? It's going to be really beautiful. So we're going to take our paper whites and we're going to line them up. You know what? I want it to be a little bit higher because I want that bulb to sit up about there. So a little more gravel. If you're using gravel from the garden center, you get a bag of gravel or something like that. There we go. Much better now. Wash it first. It's always a great idea. This gravel has been washed a couple times, and so it's all ready to go. So now I'm just going to take those, and we're using a lily bowl. This is a lily bowl from the G3 glass line, which means that it's 100% post-consumer recycled glass, which is awesome. And, oh, now see, look, I dropped that big hunk of that down inside there. Don't want that down inside there. Okay. This guy's going to be better in the middle because he's a little bit bigger. So your kids can arrange this like that. Now, see, I just pointed those little guys around the outside, okay? I just pointed them around there. But, I mean, I think that's so that as they straighten up, then they're going to go up, okay? But they were in the bag a little bit too long because I was dilly-dallying, and now they're going to be ready to go. So we're just going to pour this in here because we also want to make sure that we've got some rocks on top of our bulbs because they're going to push roots down in there. And if they were just setting up on top of the gravel, they would push themselves out of the container. That would not be good either, okay? We want those roots to go down and get situated in between these. And you know what's really cool is when you pour these out after this is over with and you take them out of here, they're going to have these root systems that are pretty dramatic. Now look, I got a little bit of, we're going to make all that gravel go in there. Everybody go in. I don't want any gravel left over. There we go. Now see how great that looks? Got that pretty coloration all the way around, and all of my little guys are in there. Look real pretty. Okay. And so you know what? Let's plant our other one. So this one I have is my green container. Now this container is not translucent. So it really doesn't matter what I want to put down inside there, but I have some clear stones. Again, these have been washed. But I could also put in regular gravel and then maybe top it with something else. So if you wanted to use regular gravel, you could use pretty gravel on top so you wouldn't have to use pretty gravel for the whole thing. Okay, that's also another little fun trick. I think that's great. Oh, I need a little bit more. Because again, I want to have these taller. Okay. And we've got 7 for in here. 1 in the middle, 2 more on the outside. And I'm just going to give them a little shove down into that gravel a little bit. 1 more piece of little skin down inside there. And again, that skin is just going to make bacteria later on if I'm not careful. All right. So we'll talk about that in a second. Okay. All right. So here we go. Rest of our gravel. And again, I don't want to waste anything. So everybody's going to go in there. As my grandpa used to say, everybody into the pool. Everybody into the pool. There we go. All right. So now I've got two, and you can match this to your interior. You can do whatever you want to. And this is going to be great. Now see, I got two great little containers that can be in different parts of the house. And they're going to have their little Paperwhites in it. They're going to add fragrance. So maybe one might go in the bedroom, one might go in the bathroom, one could go in the kitchen, one could go in the living room, wherever you want to have the scent, the fragrance. That's going to be cool. And that you get to watch it every day too. I think that's pretty fun to do that as well. So now here comes our tricks. Okay. So first of all, I am going to put a CVBN tablet down in here. I'm just going to dig down a little bit, drop that CVBN tablet down in there and cover it back up with some gravel. I'm going to do one over here too, because this is a little chlorine tablet. And so as it dissolves inside here, it's going to prevent bacteria from growing. So that's going to keep my water nice and clean for the next couple of weeks as I'm growing on my Paperwhite Narcissus. Now, if you've grown Paperwhite Narcissus before and you're like, oh my gosh, Jay, they get like this long, especially here in Michigan. Okay. One of the things that we have that happens here is it's dark. I mean, we have a lot of cloudy days. And so it's tough to get amaryllis and Paperwhites to grow short. And so this is a trick only for Paperwhites. Okay. Don't try this on your tulips. Don't try it on your amaryllis. Don't try anything else. This is just for our Paperwhites. And it involves gin, right? Okay, so I went out and I bought gin. You do not have to use Tanqueray. You do not have to use Boodles. You don't have to use an expensive gin. You can go buy the 5 o'clock plastic bottle of gin that is like $2.99 or $3.99 or $4.99. I think this one was like $4.99, okay? And it has dust on it because I use this just for my Paperwhites. So this is why I have my gin around it. And this gin, this 5 o'clock London Extra Dry gin, cheapest gin I could buy. Okay, great. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Paperwhites in that one. So I'm going to take and I'm going to do 6 capfuls. It's actually about a tablespoon. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can hear Ellie barking. She's heard the gin. 5. She doesn't drink gin. 6. Okay. I've added 6 tablespoons of gin. 1 tablespoon for each one of my Paperwhite bulbs. 1 tablespoon per bulb. One time when I plant them. Last time I'll do this. Okay. So that's why this bottle's lasted me for years. So over here I have 7 because I got a baker's dozen from my friend Jolene at Campbell's. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do not add extra. Do not add too little. 1 tablespoon for each bulb that is in there. And this is the last time that we do it. We're not going to do it again. We're not going to do it later. We're going to do it right now when we plant them. And what that gin does, this gin has, every gin, not just this one, gin is made from pine tar. And the pine tar in the gin stunts the growth of these Paperwhites. So alcohol stunting the growth of the Paperwhites. And so when it stunts their growth, they're only going to get about this tall and then they're going to have a beautiful bloom on them. I love that, right? Because then I don't have big, long, gangly ones. Any of you have grown them before know that sometimes they get like this long and then they'll tip over and then they'll bloom over here. Not this way. With this, they're going to grow up nice and short, and they're going to have their bloom on top. The other thing we want to remember too is that we are going to have these in a high light area. Do not put the gin in there and then put them in a dark closet, because it ain't going to help. Okay, we still have to get, we got to get the bulbs to straighten up and absorb that gin so that they get stunted, and then they'll start to grow up. So what I typically do with these, I'm really lucky I have a greenhouse window. So I'll stick them in the greenhouse window for a couple days so that they get good amount of light and get going. Then I'll put them in the place that I want them to be. Or if I'm going to go into a low light area, so I'm going to go into a bedroom that's dark or something like that, I will wait until they're blooming and then I'll move them into the spot that I want. But keeping them in an area where they get good light is super important. So now, after I have added my gin, I'm going to come back. This is just plain water, ice cold water. And remember, when we add water to these, we always add ice cold water. Never add warm water, okay? Because warm water also encourages bacteria, again. So what we're going to do is we're going to add this in here. And what that's doing is it's dissolving that little CVBN tablet. And I want to do this just so I can see the water starting. Okay, and there's the water. Now I can see the water inside here, so I don't want to add any more than that. I think on this one, you might be able to see from the side how much water we're putting in. Oh, look, there it is. See it? See it? It's right up there. It's right up at the top. Ta-da! 1 liter of water did these 2 vases. That's awesome. So my water is up right about here, and here you can see where that water is inside there. I think you can see inside there. See, it's right up about here. Okay. So now my paper whites are all set. I'm going to put them in an area. What I will notice over the next 24 hours, these will straighten up. Okay. These little blooms are all going to start to look like this one. They're going to straighten up, and then they're going to start to grow. I don't want it to run out of water. So I'm going to want to check it every day and make sure if I have to add a little bit of water, I'm going to add my ice cold water. I'm going to keep them in a lighted spot, and in about 10 to 14 days, I'm going to have blooms, which is pretty awesome. If you don't have a lot of sun like we do here in Michigan, depending upon my sun schedule, it's going to be cloudy the next couple days. So it might take 14 to 21 days. Okay. I probably should have planted them sooner. Okay. You know, but anyway, great trick for making our paper whites for us. Because the other thing that I love is I love paper whites in January when I've taken down all the Christmas decorations and they have some pretty fragrant spring smells in the house. That's wonderful too. So I hope you like this. I hope you enjoy planting your paper whites. Send me pictures. Send me pictures of you with your gin and you're putting your paper whites in your little vases. I want to see what your projects look like. I love that. So just email them to j@ubloom.com. And be sure and check out. There's also a video about these as well on ubloom too, on ubloom.com. So check that out too. So thanks so much. Hope you enjoyed it. Keep having fun with flowers.